Hey fam, how y'all doing today? Welcome back to History Highlights with Laney. We are still highlighting dynamic women. Amanda Gorman, born March 7, 1998, is an American poet and activist. Some of her work focuses on oppression, race, and marginalization. Gorman was the first person to be named National Youth Poet Laureate. She published the poetry book, The One for Whom Food is Not Enough, in 2015. In 2021, she delivered her poem, The Hill We Climb, at the inauguration of U.S. President Joseph Biden. Her inauguration poem generated international acclaim, and shortly thereafter, two of her books achieved bestseller status. Gorman became the first poet to perform at the Super Bowl when she delivered her poem, Chorus of the Captains. She has two siblings, and yes, she is a twin. Gorman has an auditory processing disorder and is hypersensitive to sound. She also has a speech impediment. How well do I know that? I have a speech impediment myself. Sonia Sotomayor overcame adversity to become the United States' first Latina Justice. Supreme Court Associate Justice Sonia Sotomayor was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes when she was 7 years old, at a time when most diabetics weren't expected to survive beyond the age of 50. Her father was an alcoholic who died when she was 9. Although she was smart and determined, her family lacked financial resources as well as the knowledge to help her navigate the pathway to success. Yet, having to contend with challenges did not stop Sotomayor's rise. In fact, they helped forge her already strong character into one that persevered and grew even in the face of failure. Ida B. Wells becomes the first African American to have a doll in her honor. The Barbie-inspired women's series pays tribute to incredible heroes of their time, courageous women who took risks, changed rules, and paved the way for generations of girls to dream bigger than ever before. Despite being born into slavery in 1862, Ida B. Wells becomes a pioneering journalist and outspoken activist for civil rights and women's suffrage. She co-owned and edited the Memphis newspaper, where she courageously wrote about inequality affecting African Americans. In addition, Wells, later known as Wells Barnett, co-founded the National Association for Colored Women's Club and the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, also known as the NAACP. Sculptured to her likeness and wearing a traditional blue dress with lace details, this collectible Barbie doll honors Ida B. Wells' courageous activism and remarkable accomplishments. The doll stand and certificate of authenticity is included. The doll cannot stand alone. The doll release date, January 14, 2022. Deb Holland, the first Native American to lead Interior. As thousands of Native Americans watched online to see the confirmation of Secretary of Interior Deb Holland become the first American Indian to lead the agency that manages a vast portfolio of federal land and the oil and mineral wealth that lies beneath it. Holland is a member of the Laguna Pueblo Nation in New Mexico, and whose family ties in the country can be traced back 35 generations. Holland said she will also focus on land that has been scarred by the excavation of resources such as coal and uranium, water issues such as pollution and warming that have decreased fish stocks that indigenous people rely on for food, and ceremonies is another focus. A personal priority for her is the issue of missing and murdered women in the Indian country, which on some reservations is 10 times higher than the national average. According to studies, Native American women are also more likely to be trafficked for sex and labor. Alberta Williams King. Alberta Christine Williams King, born September 13, 1904, assassinated June 30, 1974, was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother. She was married to Martin Luther King Sr. She played a significant role in the affairs of the Ebenezer Baptist Church. She was shot and killed in the church by a 23-year-old black Hebrew Israelite 6 years after the assassination of her son, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Her dad was a preacher at Ebenezer Baptist Church. She graduated from a high school at Spelman and earned a teaching certificate at Hampton Normal and Industrial Institute, now known as Hampton University. She met and married Michael King, who later changed his name and his son's name to Martin Luther King and Martin Luther King Jr. They had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. She served as choir director for nearly 25 years. She was also active in the YWCA, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, which is the NAACP, and the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. The man who assassinated Dr. King's mom had tried to assassinate Jesse Jackson in Chicago, but canceled the plan at the last minute. And 2 weeks later, he set out to Atlanta, where he shot Alberta King with 2 handguns as she sat at the organ of Ebenezer Baptist Church. The man that shot her said that all Christians were the enemy and claimed that he had decided that black ministers were a menace to black people. He said his original target had been Martin Luther King Sr., but he had decided to shoot his wife instead because she was near him. One of the deacons were also killed that tragic day. Edward Borkins, a retired school teacher, Miss Jimmy Mitchell, suffered a wound to the neck. Mrs. King was transported to the hospital, and upon arrival to the hospital, she was barely alive. She died shortly after from a gunshot wound to the right side of her head. The person that killed Mrs. King and the deacon suffered a stroke on August the 3rd, 1995 and was taken to the hospital. On August the 19th, he died at the age of 44 of complications from his stroke. Mrs. King, final resting place is at Southview Cemetery in Atlanta. Martin Luther King Sr. died of a heart attack on November the 11th, 1984, at the age of 84, and he is resting next to her. So there you have it, a little bit of history on a few more women in history. Be well, stay safe, and stay in peace, not pieces. Hit that bell and subscribe so you will know every time I upload a video. Word of the year, peace. Peace. Deuces. Love y'all, fam. See you soon.